Welcome to the Cognitive Crucible, produced by the Information Professionals Association. Our website is information-professionals.org, where you can find links and information about today's conversation and get access to members-only content. Join John Bicknell and explore all aspects of our generational challenge, cognitive security. The Cognitive Crucible is a forum that presents different perspectives and emerging thought leadership related to the information environment. The opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of or endorsement by the Information Professionals Association.
My guest today on the Cognitive Crucible is Professor Bob Thibadeau, who has been affiliated with Carnegie Mellon University School of Computer Science since 1979. His expertise is in cognitive science, AI, and machine learning. Bob Thibadeau, welcome back to the Cognitive Crucible.
Thanks.
So, Bob, the last time you were on, way back up at the top of the podcast, episode number 5, and there's a link in the show notes to this episode, Bob Thibadeau on lies. And so wanted to, and by the way, there's a number of other links in the show notes to Bob's writings on Medium, to his YouTube channel, to the Internet Court of Lies, which we'll be talking about. So I wanted to get, I guess, an update from you, Bob, on your Internet Court of Lies project. It came to my attention recently, a very provocative assertion that I wanted to also unpack with you on your recommendation, your suggestion that everybody have 1 million identities, and that's the title of the episode, 1 million identities. But then also, you and I, we've had a couple of offline conversations that one of which I wanted to kind of bring into the into this discussion, and that's how language is formed through the neocortex. But anyway, wanted to unpack all of that with you. But maybe we could set the stage just a little bit, Bob, and get your assessment of our strategic landscape, or if you prefer, the times in which we live.
So the reason that I got involved in studying lies, which is now I developed a term called mendaciometry, which is the study of lies. And what I am really, I've had many roles in my life. What I am really, and have always been, is a computational cognitive neuroscientist. My PhD is in experimental psychology and verbal learning and memory back in 1976. I've always been working on how human brains compute and how brains remember things, and how they, when you're talking about computation, you're talking about how human brains perceive reality, how they act, and how they cause their own actions in reality, and how human brains learn, and so forth and so on, up to the society level. So one of the things that I noticed was back in 2016, when I decided to go full bore back into what I originally have always done for a living, is I noticed that the internet was destroying our society. And the reason it was destroying our society is people couldn't engage in enforced moderated dialogue, which we've known for thousands of years is the way people can productively interact with each other. The example that I have is the U.S. Constitution and George Washington, which is George Washington very explicitly stated and the theme of his the main theme of his farewell address is never vote for a divisive liar. Never promote one. You will be sorry. He realized that you couldn't pass laws to stop people from divisively lying. And so his farewell address's main theme says, I can't pass a law to fix this problem. You must eschew, you must not listen to divisive liars, and you should not be one. Okay. And then the country will survive. And if you allow divisive liars, then the country will destroy itself.
If I
And so
could,
right now
if I
we're in
could,
that.
Bob, does the concept of norms come into
Yeah,
what
so
what
George
Washington was
Washington
suggesting?
called,
Yeah.
yeah, George Washington, whenever he said laws, he said habits and laws, and habits
Hmm.
was his term for norms.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so uh, so there are norms that people live by, which is great, but that's not his advice. His advice, he says, we will do norms, we will do laws, but we will not. We can't stop if you start listening to divisive liars or giving them power, voting for them, or promoting them, then you will be in trouble because we can't stop that, and that can destroy the country.
Hmm.
That's the one way in his farewell address he says you can destroy the country.
Hmm.
So George Washington had lying right, and he I've written several of my papers are on where I've gone into this in detail. But my interest in all of this originated out of my interest in human privacy, and it turns out that uh, our brains are what they call truth engines. Any living neural system, what neurons do for a living is they basically seek truth because
Hmm.
truth means survival. And the human beings are unique in our natural language in that we can, uh, natural language gives humans, unique to humans, the ability for one brain to speak in the language of the brain,
Hmm.
another brain, and it's the basis for all human society and so forth and so on. But we're truth engines. But it turns out that sometimes the truth says you must deceive. Like if the lion comes, okay, maybe you need to deceive the lion. Okay.
Hmm.
And so it turns out in privacy protection, there's the part of this whole way in which the brain operates is uh, uh, keeping certain things private so that you don't put yourself in a position where you'll get killed. Okay.
Hmm.
And so it becomes very, very important. And so the brain knows how to do that. It knows how to do that at a very fundamental computational level, how to lie.
Do you mind if I ask you just a little bit of a sidebar on that? So, um, uh, would you also say that it's true that um, the brain attempts to minimize energy expenditure as well in the pursuit of goals? It's, I guess, interpreting the world, but it's trying to do it as efficiently as possible. And like a sidebar on a sidebar, with my younger daughter recently, she's studying chemical engineering, and she she sent me something recently, which was like a little YouTube video. I can put a link to it, but it's like, why is all life carbon based? And the answer in the YouTube video, and I mean, this is assuming this is true, but it kind of makes sense to me, is that the the carbon atom is the atom that is most conducive to minimizing energy expenditure. So, life has somehow evolved and has selected the carbon atom for its energy minimization properties. Anyway, I mean, this is a sidebar, but I'm just curious about your hot take on that kind of a energy minimization.
So it's a bit different, but it's the same thing. Okay, it has to
Okay.
do with entropy. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so the way to think about it is that between your ears, there's about 100 billion neurons. People have no idea how small the neurons a neuron is. Okay, it's incredibly tiny cells. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
some neurons are very long, but if you try to look at the single axon or the single um, uh, neuron cell, you can't see it.
Hmm.
You can't even see it under most microscopes.
Wow.
Okay, you can get a microscope to where you can see it, but the what I've got as a background is on this picture is a single neuron. This for the first time in history, we've imaged a single neuron, a single brain neuron.
Wow.
And so it turns out there's 100 billion neurons between your ears. There is each neuron has on average about 3,000 synapses. So it's attached to about 3,000 other neurons.
Wow.
And so if you do the multiplication, that turns out to be, if you think of a synapse as a compute point for a computation, then it turns out there's about 300 trillion compute points in your brain. And we know from fMRI studies and EEG studies and so forth and so on that a simple sentence like the table is near the window will light up about 90 million of the neurons in your brain. It'll be all over your brain. But for that sentence, the table is near the window. If you say the sentence in Spanish to a Spanish speaker or to a Chinese person who's a Chinese speaker in Chinese, it's the same neurons that light up. This is insane.
Wow.
So it's 90 million with three times 3,000. So what's really going on in your brain is a level of massive parallel processing that was never really appreciated in earlier literature. But once you start realizing that everything is massively parallel, then there's some very simple computations that are done. And lately I've been using my hand to illustrate the computation. It's called an advanced perceptron. A neuron has an output, which I use the thumb for, and I use the four fingers to represent the 3,000 inputs. Okay, and some of those inputs are associated with a subject that we know of in language, and some of the neurons are associated with a predicate. So the subject is understood in the context of the predicate. And if that becomes true, then the neuron output says this proposition is true.
Ah.
Goes all the way down to your retinas and your axon, your retinal neurons, where you might have a cone and it sees a dark spot. That's a predication. This right, this particular neuron has just lit up. Okay. And it's a predication that there's some light out there at that spot. Okay. So it gets processed through the brain. But these propositions, so you can have a proposition that is the table is near the window. The table is the subject. Predicate is near the window. Near the window is providing a context for the subject. Okay. And all thought works that way. Your visual cortex works that way. Your frontal cortex that does your thinking all works that way in these propositions. Everything works in terms of these propositions. And what's missed by most people is the massive number of computations that are done, so that if something isn't predicted by your brain, you will immediately focus on that something. But your brain is predicting all kinds, you could call it prediction, but it's really recognizing all kinds of things.
So could I so you just said that your brain is constantly predicting, and when something happens that your brain did not predict, then you'll focus on that.
Well, you'll tend to.
Is that some kind of a bias towards novelty or something like that? Or
No, it's a bias. It's a bias toward energy conservation.
oh, really? Okay.
Yes. And so the deal is that what's going on is that your your brain is processing things on a massive scale, not a small scale. And if something happens which the brain immediately sees is not correct for what it's processed,
Hmm.
isn't just what you focus on. What you focus on is through your consciousness is kind of what you're going to do next, what your whole body's going to do next, recruit up out of these trillions and trillions of compute points that are going off simultaneously. And what'll happen is that if something, so all of these things are planning, all of these propositions are associated with planning the next action associated with that proposition, the next
Yeah.
action by you
Yeah.
with respect to that proposition. So the energy minimization is that you're going to take no action as long as you understand what's going on and you're not and you don't and you didn't feel the need to act, or
Hmm. Hmm.
your body didn't alert you that you had to act on something.
Hmm.
So if
Have you heard of another researcher, Bob? His name is Carl Friston. Does that name
no
ring a bell to
no
you? But he talks about this kind of thing as well. All of this, I think, is adjacent to your, core areas of research. Is yeah, but he talks about the free energy principle, and minimizing the amount of energy that organisms expend in the pursuit of their goals. And
so what I'm when I'm talking as a computational cognitive neuroscientist, is what you've been hearing me talk as.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There are, I don't know the exact number, but there's about 400 of me in the world.
Hmm.
And a lot of us know each other. I don't know this guy,
Hmm.
but we all are seeing the same evidence. And so we're all reaching the same conclusions. Now, there will be
Yeah, isn't that
differences.
interesting? Isn't that interesting?
So,
Do you
yeah.
think I was just talking with a fellow about this on a previous episode, but I'm not sure what this concept is called. But for me at least, it seems that if different people taking slightly different pathways are coming to similar conclusions, then for me at least, that seems to strengthen the conclusion.
It's called science.
Yeah, okay. All right. It's the process of science.
Process of science.
It's kind of like a gradient descent algorithms. It's like you can start at different locations and get to the same optimization point or something.
Right. And what it really is science is first the art of careful observation.
Hmm.
So Descartes said it right. Truth is really first what you as an individual perceive directly, and then you can know the truth that way. But he argued that, and this has everything to do with what I'm doing. The There's a fallacy in that argument that uh, can only be repaired if what you perceive somebody else perceives too. In other words, it's called modern science, replication in science. Descartes, known as the father of rules of evidence in law, which
Mm-hmm.
requires direct observation, okay, by more than one person, okay, and the uh, Descartes, also known as the father of cognitive science. I think, therefore, I am. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but what his argument is that if you and I agree that we've carefully observed the same thing, then it can be true. If only you see it and nobody else sees it, it ain't reality, according to Descartes. That could be something that you're just imagining. Okay, but then within that context, um, we've learned over the years that enforced moderated dialogue is the way you can bring people together and they can be productive. And so if you look at the Constitution, there are four main, it actually defines four ways to do enforced moderated dialogue, each with different powers. There's the House of Representatives, which has a way of doing enforced moderated dialogue, the Senate, which has a way of doing it, courts, which have a way of doing it, and the executive that has a way of doing it. And so each one of those, what the Constitution says is, this is how y'all can talk to each other. You have to talk to each other in this way. You have to come to agreement with each other in this way. Okay. And so what the internet lacks is any form of enforced moderated dialogue. What it lacks is what people do is they just scream at each other. They just say whatever comes to mind. They whack at things with no situation where they are forced into moderated dialogue, so that they can talk like adults to each other. Okay, they can learn from each other. So the internet, one of the real problems with the internet is there's no source, there's no good source for enforced moderated dialogue on the internet, and that's really what has to be fixed on the internet, according to the science. And people are attracted to enforced moderated dialogue because it's a source of truth, and the brain feeds on truth. The
Mm.
brain is a truth engine, and one of the things it can do is it can recognize the truth of a deceit. It
Uh,
can it can
uh-huh.
it, so truth and deceit go together. Deceit is just another truth that the brain can recognize, just as it can recognize the need to deceive somebody or to not tell somebody something to preserve your privacy, because preserving your privacy may be central to surviving. And
Right.
it and so part of the outcome of this study has been this notion that uh, privacy preservation is something that needs to be restarted in the light of the internet, in the light of modern society. And the way you would restart privacy preservation is the opposite of the way you think you would restart it. You don't have one identity. You have a million identities.
Yeah, this is getting into what made me want to circle back to you in the first place, Bob. So this is just fascinating stuff. Really looking forward to you unpacking this part of the conversation.
So the way you to simplify the million identity thing is that uh, uh, right now your privacy is being violated just all the time uh, by what's called linkability. So what you do uh, on the internet in one place is getting linked to what you do on the internet in another place, or or somebody who knows you because they talk about you or talk about somebody who can be linked to you. It gets these linkages are being established, and most companies and most governments are actively linking stuff about you because they are counting on the fact there's only one you.
Okay.
They can link that one person together, all of his activities together, then they can control you. They can cause you to buy more goods or cause you to believe in some lies that somebody is saying or whatever. They can really control you. And so the solution to the problem is to put the human being back into control of his own privacy in a way that the human being finds natural. And to do that, you need to have a machine, a device that is managing a million or more identities for you. And the way you have the human make it easy for the human to manage those million identities is the identities are managed by the roles that you define for yourself. So, for example, you can define yourself as an Amazon buyer or Amazon user. But what the machine does is the machine creates an identity for you that Amazon can see and link to all of your Amazon, looking around on Amazon and buying stuff on Amazon. But Etsy can't see it,
Mm-hmm.
or Microsoft can't see it because you'll have your Microsoft identity. And so all you have to do is say, I'm going to control through my whole life, okay, my identities by the roles I take, and I can say, well, when I'm interacting with this entity on the internet or in the media, then I'm going to interact only with these roles, and only those roles will that entity be able to link me up. Okay. And so I'm preserving my privacy because those roles don't permit that entity to see me on some other website or to see me doing something else. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so what you really need is a million identities to do that. And a million is a funny word. One of the things that I typically will do is this is what I've got in my hand is a 1 terabyte chip. And the terabyte chip's the size of your little fingernail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's actually about a quarter of the size of your little pick your fingernail, and you can implant that. And in fact, gamers implant such chips. And that one chip can have all of your identities in a way that the only linking of those identities is in you, unless you permit the linkages by role to be shared. So you're now in control of and the companies that are now and organizations that are now stealing your identities cannot link up what you do not permit them to link up. And we have the technology for doing that. It's in place.
Right. So I just a couple of follow-up questions. So it's a really you could file this under like like a public service announcement for people who are concerned about privacy related problems today.
I think yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
a product guy.
Uh-huh.
So I'm a scientist, but I also build products. And I'm a product guy. And so my argument is we can just build a product. As uh, the guy who later became the president of Seagate once said, he was the CTO of Seagate at the time, said, if we build it, they will come. If we build a product that everybody loves, and another guy famous about this was Steve Jobs. If you go build a great product, you don't have to explain anything to anybody. They
Right.
figure it out by
Right.
themselves because
Right.
they've got something that they never had before.
Uh-huh.
This product is very simple. It's basically it's the size of the chip. Okay. And it can manage an indefinite number of roles you take on, and which are which allow you to not be these roles do not link to each other. So Amazon can't know what you're doing on I don't know, a Sears robot site. Okay.
Well, it also enables potentially something that could be analogous to like frequency hopping radios, where an organization is transmitting sensitive information, but the frequency or the band that's being the signals being pushed onto is changing continually, or it's
Yeah,
also
it is. So the frequency hopping is unpredictability, it's high entropy,
yeah, right, right.
and the but where you get the privacy, the high entropy and privacy
hmm
is the identifier is a is a is a is a big random number.
Right. And it's something that's stored on your person.
It's actually you've got a million of these big random numbers that are you, that are unique to you and unique in all the world for the next 100 years or
Right.
1,000 years
Right.
to you, and only you have control over those random numbers. And by the way, those are not the numbers the external world sees.
Mm.
So every number is paired with another random number
Oh.
that the world sees. Okay. And so, but they're uniquely paired. So you can always go back and erase the old Amazon and create a new Amazon without actually ever changing your true Amazon identity.
Yeah. So,
Because Amazon doesn't even know your identity,
right, right.
by the way,
So,
the mech.
yes.
So the frequency hopping is the perfect equivalence of it's a random jump that can't be predicted.
hmm
It's a random number that cannot be predicted. And it's a big enough random number. So 512 bits,
hmm
well, random 512 bits is a big enough random number, which is only 32 bytes or 64 bytes. And it's only 64 characters. That number is if it's random, uh, we could create one right now, one of those random numbers right
Hmm.
now, and no human being will see that number in 100 years.
Wow. So, uh, there's a lot of inertia right now with the status quo. So surely there are organizations where if they were like really, really tuning into your suggestion here, they would be uh, agitating to prevent it from coming into existence. But in fact, it does exist right now at Microsoft Passkeys, right? But
Yep.
but can you contrast Microsoft's passkey technology with what you're suggesting?
Yeah. So it turns out uh, Microsoft um, introduced this thing called passkeys a, a little while back, and people see this thing called passkeys, which all it really is public key cryptography. It's a standard version of public key cryptography, which has been around forever. It's been around for many, many years. So certificates, for example, are pub are pub are a certificate is a public key of a public-private key pair that's used in security. So passkey technology, we the little thing that's managing your million identities. Okay, remember I tell you there's two keys, there's two numbers. One's the public number, one's the private number. I was telling you
Mm-hmm.
this is a public key cryptography solution.
Mm.
And the same code, the same algorithms that protect you with passkey, and the same algorithms that protect you with smart cards, which are all the same, or all public private key uh, cryptography. It's the same stuff.
Mm.
Reason that we know that it works is it's everywhere, and it goes by different names in different places. So Bitcoin is just standard public key cryptography. Most people don't know that. Okay. It is
Mm.
absolutely standard public key cryptography where the marketers have put other names on things, okay, to confuse you, basically.
Mm.
But the math is all the same. Okay. And so passkeys are that. The million identities is just another instance of public key cryptography that we know how to do. And what passkeys does, which is special, and Microsoft should be congratulated for it, is what it does is it puts so your identity on the laptop that you're sitting on right now is one identity, and it will have a different pass key, different public-private key pair than you on your iPhone, but it's still you. So what Microsoft's introduced is this idea, the same kind of an idea is million identities, but a much more limited version in the sense of many fewer identities. What it does is it creates a unique identity for you on every device that you use. So this laptop will have one pass key for me.
Mm.
And the laptop sitting next to me will have a different pass key for me because pass keys are always unique to both who you are and what device you're using.
Mm.
That's all pass keys are. So it's a case where Microsoft took a little tiny step toward a million identities, but they did it in a way that benefits them without necessarily benefiting your privacy.
Ah, I see. So, I mean,
What the million
yeah.
identities do is completely to put control of your privacy in your hands, not in Microsoft's hands.
Mm.
Right now, it's
Right.
all in Microsoft's
Right.
hands.
So what Microsoft is operationalizing this public, uh, what did you call it again? Public what?
Public key,
Pu- pu-
public key.
pu-
Public key cryptography. Yeah.
public key. They're operationalizing this public key cryptology, uh, which does provide some privacy and cyber protection for the individuals who are, using it, but it also benefits Microsoft, and they're able to better connect you across Microsoft enabled
Right, because they
devices.
know all the machines that you
Yeah,
operate on.
yeah. So it helps solve a problem for Microsoft
And
from
and
like
and
a networking and householding kind of a.
well, it's worse than that. It's actually an invasion of your
It's
privacy.
worse than that. Okay, great. Yes,
Right,
excellent.
because what happens is that Microsoft now knows what iPhone you're on, what
Mm,
laptops you're on, because it's managing all those passkeys.
right. And it also knows the other people who you're maybe sharing a laptop with and so on.
Yeah, it'll be able to know that.
Yeah.
And but the main thing is it's linking all the devices that you use, just like a regular website links all the websites that you go to.
Yeah. So it's related to cookie technology and all this kind of stuff as well. So, all right. So, Google and Facebook and Apple and Microsoft and many other organizations are not going to be in favor of this of operationalizing this million passkey, this
The
personalized
million
million pass.
identity.
Yeah. I
No,
mean,
no, that's actually wrong.
oh, really?
I think that once they understand what it does, okay, then they'll get into the business of providing people with roles that they can play. And now you get a choice what roles you want to play. Okay. So you may say, well, I will let Microsoft know my age role, that I'm 64 years old or whatever.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, does this get
And
back into kind of like, your choices of opting in, or what your app choices are about like sharing your information or
yeah,
sharing,
this
and
is
and
doing op
everything
this
is
is
like defaulted on, and unless you
no,
default
no,
it
no.
off.
You only turn, that's the beauty of having this as a million roles that you work with, is you're you're you're
Mm,
not opting. An opt-in is
mhm,
doing something that the other guy is controlling.
mhm,
This is you're controlling it.
mm,
So you can say to Microsoft, I never want you to know my age.
mm,
And sure enough, Microsoft won't know it.
mm.
Okay. You can say to a government site, a Social Security site, Social Security may say, we can really help you out with more information if you let us know your age.
Mm. But so all of these large tech players right now, you started all this out by saying they've created these elaborate ways of identifying who you are across platforms. Um, uh, so if this is a way of short-circuiting all that, why wouldn't
Oh,
they? I mean,
for
wouldn't
certain,
this disrupt their current
n-
ad money and business model?
no, it will increase the value of it. And this is a
Huh.
conversation we'd have to have with the advertising people, because you're vastly more likely to buy something from a site you trust.
Oh, okay. Does this get back at all into truth? And yeah, let's get an update from you, Bob, on your internet court of lies, or court of truth. I mean, and
It's
please
both.
bring it
It's
together.
called
Yeah.
the internet. So what happened was, I'd start off with the Internet Court of Lies. And it turned out about 30% of the people, because it had the word lies in it,
Mm.
would freak out. And
Okay.
after I got
Okay.
enough freaking out over a period of several years, where they would literally shut down. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
would not want to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
They would not want to have a discussion. They want to have nothing to do. What they would say is, we don't want you teaching people how to lie.
Hmm.
And I would say that's not what this is. This
Yeah,
is
okay.
enforced
Okay.
moderated dialogue where people find out. So what the Internet Core of Truth and Lies does is very simple, is if you see something in the media or that you think is the truth or you think is a lie, it creates a little trial, which is a force moderated dialogue. There are 8 verdict questions that if you think something's the truth or if you think something is a lie, you answer 8 questions. They're always the same 8 questions. The brain is a truth engine. 8 questions dissect any truth or any lie. Okay. And but it's a way of creating enforced moderated dialogue on whether or not the thing that you want to know where you claim it's true or the thing that you claim is a lie, it causes real dialogue between you and up to 8 jurors who are brought in, who are just other human beings, to listen to your claim, and then they fill in their verdicts. The same 8 questions, and they give you a summary of what they thought about what you thought. And so what the Internet Court of Truth and Lies does is it invariably, for every court case, uh, invariably the plaintiff, the person who's bringing the case, learned something. He learned something. Somebody will say something that he didn't expect in terms of what he believed was true or what he believed was a lie. Okay. Well, for example, a classic one will be, he'll say something's true, and then somebody will say, no, I didn't take it that way. What you thought was true, I didn't take it the way you took it. And it sounds like a lie to me. And here's why. Here are my answers to the questions. I think this guy didn't have, he was not motivated to be informative. He was motivated to deceive me. So even though it was factually true, he was tricking me. Okay. And so you'll hear a juror say that, and all of a sudden you'll realize, yeah, that thing that you thought was true is not necessarily true in the way in which this guy's brain was predicating it, was providing context for it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Back to the fundamentals of computational cognitive neuroscience. Okay. And so the bottom line is that what the Internet Court of Truth and Lies is it's meant to be a tool for any social media platform, so that instead of just doing a comment, so for example, if it were on as a tool on Facebook with its 100 million people online simultaneously, you could say, I want to bring a court case on this thing. I think it's a lie. And you fill out the form. And then instantly, Facebook could provide 8 jurors for you to look at your claim and hear what you say and to have real dialogue on whether or not that's a lie. Because the dialogue is restricted to answering those 8 questions, okay, which dissect any lie or any truth. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what you wind up with is a civil conversation. In the 6, 7, 800 trials we run on the mature version of the Internet Court Truth and Lies, you can find the Internet Court Truth and Lies at truthcourt.net or liecourt.com. Okay.
Yep. Links in the show notes. Yep.
Yeah, and it's the same system. It does exactly the same thing. You can bring lies to truth court or truth to truth court or lies to lie court or truth to lie court. It's exactly the same system, but it enforces moderated dialogue. And we've literally had actually no cases that we know of where people have gone crazy.
except
They
for
do with
except for
bias.
except for trying to convince people to engage when it was simply called the Internet Court of Lies. Other than that,
Well, right. Well, it
yeah,
was
yeah,
really the 30%. The problem
yeah,
was
yeah.
that 30% of people who brain would just go dark. So we changed the name to the Internet Court of Truth, and all of a sudden nobody complained about us doing lies.
Yeah.
Okay.
But do,
And
do,
and yeah.
do you have, Bob? So you've run quite a few of these evolutions. Do you have like a couple of favorites, or do you have a couple that produced like really interesting results that are like stand out to you?
So the business model for the Internet Court of Truth and Lies is a sponsor model.
Hmm.
So the the base way in which it operates preserves privacy.
Okay.
So, for example, you can run a trial on uh, Truth Court for free if you provide your own jurors and uh, you use no services from
Hmm.
our service. You just use our system, and so that's specialized for teachers. So if you've got a teacher teaching a class, she can or he can have people run trials, of which they are completely private. It never appears. You can never search over them. Nobody else can see them. They're just inside of that class. People, because the teacher can say, I need you to be the jurors for this thing. Okay. I need you to be the plaintiff, and here's come up with something that you think is a lie and defend it. And then we can run the trial for completely free for educational schools and everything anywhere in the world, and that's free. Okay. If you want us to provide you with jurors, let's say random jurors, random people, okay, then it ain't free. And we require sponsors, and a sponsor can come in and say, I'm willing to sponsor trials. I want all my trials to be public. I want everybody in the world to be able to see them. And so if you go to the link that we provided that says sponsor/Thibadeau, you'll see about 40 or 50 trials so I'm as a sponsor of those trials. I'm also the plaintiff on the trials. The sponsor can define who the plaintiff is. I'm the plaintiff on them. You can see trials but under my sponsorship, all the trials are public and anybody can see them.
Hmm.
We also have trials that are public because Bright Plaza, the company that produces the Network Truth and Lies, have made public. And this is we have about 1,000 active people right now that are creating trials. And we're limited by the number of sponsors we have, but the company sponsors about right now, company sponsors about 10 or 12 trials a week because we will pay the jurors. So to be we pay a juror about $20.
Hmm. Okay.
Be a juror. Okay. And believe me, at $20, this is crazy. We're vastly oversubscribed. Every trial that we run nowadays has 8 jurors on it. No problem. Okay.
Hmm.
And they take it seriously because they won't get paid if they don't take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So there's in the sponsored trials, there's also something called a moderator, which is a kind of a judge who all he does is he just makes sure that that every juror has participated in the trial, okay, and doesn't get paid unless the moderator has a form that he can fill out on the trial. He also sets the date and the time, offers dates and times so the trials can be run, because this is, if we were a tool on Facebook, it could be immediate, but because we don't have 100 million people online simultaneously, our
Mm-hmm.
trials right now are for 2 days from now.
Yeah.
Or you pick a time slot, and that's when you run the trial, or when the trial gets completed. And so that's the way that works. But what we're after is sponsors that want to sponsor trials. Like, for example, the United States Army could sponsor whole bunches of trials, okay, that are done, some of which, or maybe all of which, are completely private to the Army. And none can be known outside the Army. And all of the privacy protections are in place using that law of big numbers. All of the identities that we use for people are such big numbers out of that billion identity type pool. Okay.
What could the outputs or the well, first of all, what are the outputs from
The
a
output
trial,
is yeah.
and then how could the outputs be used by the sponsoring
So
organization?
so the outputs depend on how the sponsor sets it up, but the outputs, the way to think about it is a trial to have an effective dialogue. It's like any trial. You can't have 1,000 jurors. Just that don't work. Okay. So we picked the number 8. It's 8. Okay. There's a plaintiff and 8 jurors. And so the way to think about it is a what this is a educational process among those 9 people. And the education is about something that plaintiff, that first person, was interested in knowing whether or not other
Hmm.
people thought it was true too, or other people thought it was a lie.
Right, right,
So those 8 people educate each other. And then the sponsor has access to all of the trials that the sponsor sponsored.
right.
So he can do search over all the trials. So he can run 100,000 or 1,000 or 50 trials on a particular topic that he's really interested in exploring. Okay. The sponsor can even say, I want y'all to do trials on the lies that are being told in Moldova,
Right.
okay, by the
I mean,
Russians.
that is actually where I was going with this. So you've got, I mean, this podcast tends to be probably 90% an American audience. So, people might be familiar, like the president says something about tariffs is, okay. Or what about, Vladimir Putin says something about Ukraine. But you're getting into these more niche areas about Moldova or Liberia, or the president of Nigeria says something. The question is, do the jurors have to have cultural or some working knowledge about whatever the question or topic is, or
So,
is that irrelevant?
well, it depends on who the sponsor has as jurors, right? So the sponsor gets to define who the jurors are going to be. Okay. So the default sponsor for a trial that's sponsored by Bright Plaza, the jurors are selected at random from all the members of Truth
Right.
Court,
Yeah. Okay.
that who are not restricted. So if for example I'm the Army, I may say that all of my members in Truth Court are restricted and they can't be used as jurors in other trials, other sponsored trials, just in my sponsored trials. Okay. Or I can bring in people in the citizenry of that country, okay, as jurors. Okay. Or I can bring in, the sponsor can define it the way they want to for the trials that they sponsor. Okay.
Right. Well,
And
is that important? That to me seems like that would be important context for whatever the judgment is. Is who are the jurors? Were they randomly selected? Are they?
well, that's something that's a misunderstanding. So there is no final verdict in that court of truth and lies.
Ah, okay.
So the result of a trial is if it's eight jurors, is 9 verdicts. Okay. And each of the verdicts answers the 8 questions.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's no attempt in this system, and it shouldn't be in this system because it has to be done very quickly. You have to have people just coming in and very quickly
Right. Right.
giving you their take on it. Okay. And it turns out people are plenty smart, and their take on it it's amazing how if the plaintiff makes his case, how they'll either agree or disagree in different questions, and everybody will learn something because they will see something about what how people are thinking about the truth or the lies, and it really depends on who the plaintiffs are. So one of the things you can look at on Truth Court right now is if you look at the trials that are done that are sponsored by Bright Plaza, you'll see trials with plaintiffs that come from the general membership and jurors that are coming from the general membership on whatever topics the plaintiffs wanted. Okay. In the case of my trials, the ones that are sponsored by me, they're all on the computational cognitive neuroscience stuff. Okay. And I'm the expert. I'm an expert and are bringing these things that I think are true or I think that are a lie to random people who are just the membership. But it allows me to explore how convincing I am on some of my beliefs and whether or not I've said things correctly or said things incorrectly, because I will now find out what these people think about what I've said that I think they should understand.
Well,
And it's amazing. Yeah.
Would there be benefit to an organization, again, just keeping with the Army, if they have 10 different trials on the exact same question, but 10 different jury pools, or like three different random pools, another pool of country specific or cultural experts, and so on and so forth, and then you get an average of all of the responses, and then that
Yeah,
tells you
absolutely.
something.
So one of the buttons after the trial is settled, which basically means that everybody's provided that, and the trial is over, has a time that it's over. So a trial, uh, the default time for a trial is 1 hour. Okay, so it's like one class. Okay, and but the system is designed so that the plaintiff and the jurors can all interact with each other and finalize a trial in 10 minutes. But what happens in practice is they all tend to last 40 minutes to an hour because everybody gets really interested. so, so, but then they don't go for more than an hour because then people are tired of talking. Okay. But the right answer is that all that's under control of the sponsor. So the sponsor can so one of the default buttons we have up for a sponsor on any given trial, so the plaintiff runs a trial, any the default is the plaintiff or any of the jurors can click the button that says retry, and they will get a brand new trial with them as the plaintiff, okay, taking the plaintiff's they can say, I want to run this trial as the plaintiff, even though I was a juror before, or I'm the plaintiff and I can retry the trial and I'll run it 10 more times with different jurors built into the system right now. And you can actually go in with you could run it with a different dissection, with answering the 8 questions differently for each retry, or you can always with the same dissection with 10 or as many times as you want to retry.
My goodness.
So yes, you could do all of that, but it's all a big educational process where what you're really trying to do is get people to understand how they are being understood by other people in the community that the sponsor desires. Okay. And you know, the whole system is set up so that everybody is anonymous unless they decide not to be. And everybody is, the trials are completely private by the law of big numbers. If you look at a trial, a case number, that's one of those big numbers that will not repeat for 100 years. We are actually generating those random numbers, and it does obey all the rules for the 100 million identities.
So would this be a appropriate's not the right word, a useful use case? Like, let's say I'm a corporate leader, or I'm a military leader, or I'm a politician, and I'm interested to hone my persuasion skills, my communication skills. I could engage with your platform and do a number of these trials in a number of different contexts and get these 8 questions answered, and that provides me with some feedback or some coaching feedback, perhaps, on, you know, when under what circumstances do I tend to do does the outcome seem more credible based upon the voting of the jurors, and what other outcomes do people just tend not to believe me because of whatever?
Well, what you'll get is you'll typically get several of the people will believe you, and several won't. But they're telling you why they don't, and they're telling you why they do. Okay.
Right.
And
But
that's
like, so
incredibly valuable.
yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, if I'm the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company and I am trying to communicate my vision, or I'm trying to talk about the direction we're going, or these are the initiatives we have, and under what circumstances do people tend to believe me, or in what circumstances am I, and then that can feed back into like coaching
Yeah, and
for
you can
better
actually go
communication.
back and you could reach, when you hit the retry button, it will fill in all the fields, but you can change any field. So you can say, well, if instead of presenting it this way, I'm going to present it this way, this other way, to see if
Oh, I
everybody
see.
now agrees I'm
I
telling
see.
the truth.
I see. Huh. Huh.
So
Huh.
yeah. So we generally say you can sponsor a single trial if you wanted to, but we generally say sponsor minimum of 10 trials.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of the Army, we'd be saying sponsor 100,000 trials, and we'll work with you on what you could, and then over a period of time. Okay. And because you're going to have a trial is only 9 people. Now you can have as many other people watching it as you want. The privacy is completely up to the sponsor. The but the participants, the actual people who are participating in the trial, are just the plaintiff and the 8 jurors.
Really interesting stuff. Wow. Well, so Bob is engaged on LinkedIn. He's not a hard fellow to get a hold of. If any of what he's been talking about during this episode seems intriguing, actionable, operationalizable, please reach out to him. There's links in the show notes again to a whole bunch of different outputs from YouTube to Medium, articles, and so on. But really fascinating stuff, Bob, and wish you and your colleagues, continued success along this project of yours. Wow. With that, Professor Bob Thibadeau, thank you for being a return guest on the Cognitive Crucible.
Anytime.
The Cognitive Crucible is the only podcast dedicated to increasing interdisciplinary collaboration between information operations practitioners, scholars, and policymakers. To find out more about the Information Professionals Association, visit us at information-professionals.org. Please support our podcast by giving us a 5-star rating and leaving a review.